Hey everybody, it is Friday, July 29th, 2016. I'm back in the hospital for round 3 or 2A, depending on who you talk to. Um, it is exactly 6 weeks from me being diagnosed and exactly 6 weeks from my first admission, so that whole thing moved quick. I'm obviously in a little better mental state than I was originally. I also got some really great news today, and I'll go through that here in a second, but the basics is I'm only going to be doing rounds 2A and B, and then I'm done with chemo, and that's because I am in complete remission. I'm actually better than complete remission. There's complete remission is what they would have called it a few years ago, but they now have even better tests. Those are called MRD tests, minimum residual disease, and they can go through. They do the same exact bone marrow, they do the same blood tests, but they now have tests that can go through and verify even more precisely, to varying degrees of accuracy depending on the lab. Whether they can see disease in you, and I'll explain this, but this all helps determine the odds of a positive outcome. So the basic gist of it is, as of today, according to the most accurate test in the world, because I'm lucky and I'm a bit Swedish and SCCA is part of it, to the most accurate test in the world with the most accurate degree of accuracy. Sorry, I'm being redundant. I'm going to leave this in the video because it's funny. I have no detectable signs of leukemia in me. So what that means is they're going to skip 4 rounds of chemo and move me straight into transplant. They also are able to do that for another reason, because I have 80 perfect matches in the stem cell database. That is not normal. People do not normally get 80 perfect matches. They do not normally get 1 perfect match. I've been told that up to 50% of people who need a stem cell transplant will never get a perfect match in the database. Which leads to my biggest point for this video. I got lucky. I'm a white guy. It's easy mode. Like it always is. It's the US. Like, it's always easy mode. Like, minority groups, females, it is much harder for them to find a perfect match. And even most white males will not find the number of matches that I have. I was very, very lucky. So please, if you are healthy and eligible and do not have a reason not to, please sign up to be a peripheral blood stem cell donor. It may say that it's a bone marrow donor, and it is, but it is not the same process that it used to be. They hook you up to a machine, no different than when you're donating platelets. They put a little needle in your arm, the blood comes out, filters it in a little machine, and it goes right back in. That's it. You're a little tired for a day afterwards. It is non-invasive, and you are tremendously increasing the odds. So all of you, please, I can't say it enough. Like, you don't need to help me. I'm covered. I got tons and tons and tons of donors. I get to take my pick, the healthiest, youngest one. Most people will not get that. Sorry, I'm punching the table. I'm so excited and so emotional about this. But most people just don't get that opportunity. So if you can, sign up for it and help somebody else get that result, because it felt pretty great to hear it, especially going and knowing the statistics. People can keep telling me not to know them, but I don't know. I go to the NIH website and I go places and I read. So I knew the odds weren't very good for people to find a perfect match, and I somehow have 80. So I get to skip my rounds of chemo, and then in mid-late September, I'll be doing a stem cell transplant, and I'll do another video later where I break that all down. It's still a little scary, but it's good because even though I'm in complete remission with no signs of MRD, statistical models show that an adult with my specific version of ALL, the Ph-positive ALL, will almost certainly relapse. And relapses are bad because the only thing left after a remission are the few cells that were strong enough to survive the chemo. So it's much harder to get another remission. So I will be doing the transplant because it changes my odds from about, like, if I were to stop now, odds of making it without a relapse are it's like 10%. That's some ridiculously low number. Not impossible, but very unlikely. Transplant will take me up to about 70+%. And that's, a pretty good sign, and a pretty good number, I think. I don't know, I'll take it. And it may actually be even higher than that. Those include all age groups. Those include everyone, and those also don't include some new forms of therapy that are being found to be very, very effective. That I'll be on pill chemo called Sprycel for at least a few years, and that I guess tremendously increases my odds, and so on and so forth. So, but moral of the story is, please please, 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 if you are eligible, get in that registry. It is non-invasive. I know it's called a bone marrow transplant, but it is actually a peripheral blood stem cell transplant in most cases now. There are a few exceptions to that, I believe, but it's the same database. But you absolutely most of the time it would be a very non-invasive thing. So please get in the system and help somebody else get those results. So now for the boring part. If you're a numbers person, you should stay. Otherwise, the rest of you should skip it. I've got a chart over here that they drew up for me. I'm not going to pull the chart up yet. I've got all the numbers though, so I'm going to kind of run through the numbers for people. And here's the basics. When I came into the hospital 6 weeks ago, I got diagnosed. My platelets were at 24,000. All my other blood numbers were pretty normal. A few were a little high because I sit a little high. They have for years and years and years. Not dangerously high, just like my body because of sleep apnea and a few other adaptations. Had high hematocrit, for example. I sat at 53. 50 is very, very high, and I was at 53. But that's normal for me. But my platelets were low. They were at 24,000. Like, that's danger zone, though. And they actually dropped to 10K over the next 48 hours while I was admitted. So they were dropping hard. I was on my way out, as I've talked about before. But now, after 2 chemo cycles, they're at 670,000. A normal high is about 400. So my body has not only rebounded, it has rebounded hard, and it is fighting very hard to get back to normal. So it is actually gone beyond normal and well into overproducing. That's not a bad thing. They said that this is a normal reaction where my body has had too few, so it's just like pumping them out, and it'll level out over time. But yeah, so I'm doing well on that front. But the interesting numbers are the morphology and the flow cytometry, and that's in the bone marrow biopsy. The one they did before, my morphology, and that's when a doctor actually looks at it under a microscope. I'm sorry about looking away. I'm looking at this chart. They look at it under a microscope, and they actually detect. They like manually go through and determine how many are abnormal cells. And their number that they had written down was literally that, like, approximately equal to 100%. So the person that did that could not detect normal cells in my bone marrow. So I was effectively 100% cancer. They did the flow cytometry tests after that as well. And those are done by machines, so they're a little more accurate. And they said 96%. So again, I was basically 100% cancerous bone marrow. I am now, as of today, 0%, or I guess as of Monday, technically, when the test happened, but I shouldn't have changed. 0%, completely undetectable by either human or machine. And so I had 0% blasts, or 0% abnormal cells, 0% blasts. And my chromosomes were all back to normal. They're supposed to show 46XY because I'm a male. 46 chromosomes is a normal human, typical human. There are exceptions. But originally they had a variety of different combinations based on, that was the Philadelphia chromosome combo. So my genetics hadn't changed, but the flawed cancerous cells had. I'm learning all of this, so again, if I say stuff wrong, please forgive me. I'll ask more questions if you want me to, and I'll get more info. And then the other tests, the FISH and the PCR-able stuff, like, are all normal, which they were not before. So yeah, so I'm showing up completely normal, and I don't know. I guess that's pretty great news, and it definitely increases my odds. So I get to jump ahead, and anyway, wanted to share the good news, and now I'm going to take a nap because these headaches have not gone away, and I'll talk to y'all soon. All right.